Take questions for Coach around the room.
Big crowd.
First, yeah. Late arriving. Go ahead, right here in the front.
This seems like maybe the most emotional, maybe we could say, that we've seen out of Andrew Wiggins. You know, usually he's pretty straightforward guy, straightforward guy, but he's like staring down guys more. Being more expressive on the court. How much do you guys feed off of that energy that he's kind of providing?
Yeah, I mean he's a very mild mannered guy, but he's taken a leap in these playoffs in terms of his impact on the game defensively on the glass. You saw it the other night. I mean, 16 rebounds, and I think because the games are obviously so meaningful. There's more emotion from him and from everybody, So the biggest thing is, he's a two-way player. You got to have two-way guys to make it this far and to succeed. And he has just grown by leaps and bounds over the last couple of years, and it's really fun to watch that growth.
Back
Hey,
left.
Coach. Colin Ward Henninger, CBS Sports. You always talk about, well, not just you, your whole team, talk about coming out, having to play with force, having to have the right energy. You did a better job with that in Game 2 and Game 4 than you did in the other games. I'm curious, as a coach, early in the game, what are the indicators that you look for to see that you're playing with that necessary force?
Yeah, boxing out is one of them. Ball pressure, defensively, rotations. You can just tell, are you a step early or a step late? And I think that's pretty much a common theme throughout the playoffs in every matchup. I mentioned, watching the Miami-Boston series, it was like almost automatic, whichever team lost came back and punched the other team in the mouth the next game, and it kept going back and forth. And I just think that, especially as you get deeper in the playoffs, teams are so evenly matched. And the games are physical and intense. Even the slightest edge in terms of that force and energy makes a big difference.
And here in front.
Hey, Steve, tomorrow is the 3-year anniversary of your guys' elimination against Toronto and also of Clay's ACL injury. And I'm wondering if you could just remember your emotions that night, not only about being eliminated, but also, the devastating injury and just the perspective. Here we are 3 years later and you've got a Game 5 on the same day.
Yeah, that seems like a long time ago. It was a really strange time for me because I obviously was just devastated for Clay coming on the heels of Kevin's injury. It just felt like we got wiped out just in, back-to-back games. And we were already, really emotionally tired at that point from the 5-year run. And I also felt this immense pride in our guys' effort and, almost sending that series back to Toronto to a Game 7. So there were all these emotions, but the overriding factors were the injuries to Clay and Kevin. It was just devastating and really hard to see them suffering. And but yeah, that was a long time ago. Good to be back here.
Joe, second row.
So you made a lineup change the other night. Did you see what you wanted out of Otto? And Looney seemed to dominate, coming off the bench. So is this something you stick with?
I'm not going to give that away. I don't like to talk about starting lineups before games. So, part of this series for us and part of the whole playoffs, frankly, has been trying to figure out rotations. We didn't have our whole team together until the Game 1 of the Denver series. And then Gary got hurt. Andre got hurt. And so it feels like almost every series we have had to search a little bit for combinations. and for substitution patterns. And so I'll leave it at that. But yeah, it's very different from teams we had in the past where there might have been one decision to make. Are we going to play JaVale McGee or Zaza Pachulia? But the kind of the core the big minutes were going to be played by the same guys. This feels a little bit different this year. There's been a little bit more mixing and matching, and really proud of the group, everybody, for staying ready and staying prepared and not allowing that sort of change and alterations from game to game to bother them.
Mark in the back.
Hey, Steve. I was wondering, through the course of the day-to-day with Steph, what jumps out to you with what he does with his conditioning work that enables him to always be in tip-top shape?
Just the consistency of his routine. It's like a metronome. I mean, every day it's the exact same thing. He's in the training room, he's in the weight room, he's on the court. And there's, it's clockwork, but there's also a sense of joy and energy within that work. He enjoys it so much. He loves the process. And I think that's one of the things that ties all great athletes together. Like, I'm talking about the superstar athletes, Roger Federer's of the world. There's, Steph Curry's of the world. There's a routine that is not only super disciplined, but it's really enjoyed each day. There's a passion that comes with it, and that's what sustains it over time. And when you love something like those guys do, you work at it, you get better, and you just keep going. I might have told you this before, but we actually met Federer a few years ago in China when we played in Shanghai. And he came and spoke to our locker room. And Draymond asked him, he said, "How have you been doing this for 20 years?" And his answer was just simple yet profound. He said, I love my daily ritual. He said, I get up and make my kids breakfast, drop them off at school, and go train, and I've figured out the right training methods to keep me in the best position, at my age. I love competing. He said, but every single day I put my head on the pillow at the end of the day, and I just think, man, what a great day. And so I think of Steph a lot when I think of that story from Roger Federer. It's very, very similar, just sort of zest for life and just joy for the process.
Tim over here on the right.
Steve, I know you don't want to talk about the specifics of Mike Brown and Kenny Atkinson leaving, but has there been any worry of, sort of distraction on the staff leading into this, obviously with these huge games coming up? And secondly, knowing that you have coaches vacancies, but yet you have coaches who always get promoted, you think it's going to be pretty, not easy, but pretty, you're going to have tons of answers to be able to fill those spots with guys applying?
Honestly, the answer is we've barely given it any thought just because of the business at hand, and we know that in a week or so we can get to all that. I won't comment on anything until the teams involved are going to make comments, and so I guess we can have that discussion after the series is over. I'm sorry?
Has there been any disturbance to the process of putting the game plans together, studying?
No. Yeah, there's the guys we're in the finals, so it's everybody's just locked in, and we'll deal with that when we get to it.
Jeff in the center.
Hey, Steve.
Hi, Jeff.
How well do you know Brad Stevens, if at all, or a relationship that may exist? And he did the opposite of you, coaching to the front office. And what lifestyle differences are there between the two jobs that lifestyle specifically might be more palatable than the other?
I know Brad pretty well. We actually connected when I was in broadcasting, and he was at Butler. And we had lunch. He wanted to pick my brain about the NBA. I wanted to pick his brain about coaching. I was thinking about getting into coaching, and I had done a couple of Butler games for CBS, and so we've built a relationship over the years. Just great respect for him, and he was an amazing coach, and I think he's done a phenomenal job as GM. The moves he made this year, adding Horford and Derek White, brilliant. So yeah, he's somebody I think who has figured out what he wants at this stage in his life, and that's what we all have to figure out in this business. I was able to hold off on coaching until my kids were pretty much done with high school, and that's the way I wanted it. And I think he was sort of the opposite. While he was coaching, his kids were pretty young, and I know he's got a lot more time with them now, which is important for him. So you just have to figure out your own existence and what you want within that, and I think he's done a good job of that.
Again, in the back.
Steve, when you look at the video of the previous games, how do you feel about the quality of shots you guys are getting, especially in the half court?
A lot of good ones and some bad ones, and that's kind of what we spend when we're go through our offensive stuff and our adjustments. We're trying to create more good ones, but we had a lot of good looks the other night. I saw the stat, I can't remember what it was, but on our uncontested threes, we actually didn't shoot the ball that well, but we got a lot of them, and that was a good sign. But there's some things we can do better for sure, and to try to create open looks.
The last two, Janie, and then over here, Anthony.
Hi, Steve. I know Draymond doesn't typically need any motivating necessarily, but have you challenged him in any way ahead of this next game? Just anything that,
Nope.
No.
No,
Yep.
Draymond's Draymond. He's gonna bring it every night, and I think the thing that maybe got lost the other night is how good he was, down the stretch, and he ends up the game with 4 steals. He was brilliant defensively. He did what we needed to do to win the game. Everybody's locked in on his scoring. Scoring has always been kind of the last thing that we need from him. We need his defense, his energy, his force, his competitiveness, and down the stretch of the game, he made huge plays at both ends.
Anthony, last one.
Along those lines, though, on the offensive end with him, I mean, this is obviously a difficult matchup, the shot blocking, the length, how they're playing him. What ideally do you need from him offensively better?
Well, there's some details, things that we've seen on tape that we feel like we can do, and obviously not gonna say them here, but I think there's an awareness that and a respect for their defense, just like Memphis, with all the shot blocking Memphis had. There's a similar theme in that, we can't play in a crowd, and this is as a 5-man unit. We've got to figure out what that means. How do we create spacing, and where do we need to be? Where does each guy need to be in order to thwart, some of that shot blocking and congestion in the paint?
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you.
Hey, Clay. Tomorrow is the 3-year anniversary of Game 6 against Toronto, your ACL injury elimination. I'm just wondering if you can offer a little perspective on what that day was like for you, and to be here 3 years later in a critical Game 5 and playing, at a high level again.
Well, there's a lot of emotions that day. We came real close to having another opportunity at a three-peat, which hasn't been done since Shaq and Kobe. And, when I hurt my knee, it was kind of uncharted territory for me because I had been able to be consistently present in the lineup my whole career. so I had to kind of realign my whole train of thought with the months coming up. It was just I knew I had a lot of training ahead, and I knew it was actually hard because I didn't really get a break. Usually after such a long season, you get a nice summer break, but I had to go straight into rehab, and it was kind of like a long cycle after that, a couple years, and now to be here again, I wouldn't change anything. You know, I'm very grateful, and everything I did from that point led to this, so I would not change a thing.
Or on your left.
Hi, Clay. Your team talks a lot about playing with necessary force. Some games is better than others. I'm curious, as a player, early in the game, how do you know if you're playing with that right force, and if not, what do you do to kind of correct it?
Yeah, you can just, to correct it, that's what the coaching staff is for. They let you know in a very emphatic way. And how do you know? Well, usually when, it's hard to know until you watch the film after, but a good indicator when you're out there is just not letting them get layups or easy wide open looks in the beginning, but making them work to score. That usually means that we're locked in.
Davide in the center.
Clay, hi, Davide Chinellato with. Hi, Clay, Davide Chinellato with Gazzetta.
Dang.
Davide Chinellato with Gazzetta in Italy. This is your sixth straight finals, or 6 in 8 years, depending on how you count it. How much is this routine for you, and how much is, I'm at the finals and playing for a championship?
Man, it seems routine, but I just know how special this is. I'm trying to just be present in everything I do during this time, even this interview, and not look ahead, not even look ahead to tomorrow, but just enjoy this day before the big one tomorrow. And the NBA Finals is such a cool thing to be a part of. I remember being in Istanbul, Turkey in 2013, doing some stuff in the NBA and waking up real early just to watch it, 3, 4 in the morning. So to realize that these games are broadcast worldwide just reminds you how special it really is. I know when my dad played back in the day, the NBA was not as global. So to be here now and talking to you from Italy, or a reporter from China, or somebody from Brazil, it's special.
Monty in the back.
Clay, everybody remembers, going back to Andy's question, how after you got your knee injured your knee, you were in the hallway. It looked like you were trying to figure out a way to will yourself back onto the court, and you wanted to keep playing. What was going through your mind, and how was it that you finally realized that, okay, this is not going to work, you can't get back out there?
Well, I never had such a severe injury, so I didn't think it was that serious. I thought I might have sprained something in my knee, but, when you're in the championship and you're playing in front of our fans, your adrenaline is so high that you kind of disregard anything that makes sense. And, running around on a torn ACL doesn't make very good sense. And I just thought, I don't want to leave these points on the board, man. This is the finals. I'm going to go get this 30 ball. And then on top of that, I went to the back and they did a little test, and they came out with the conclusion that I should probably put some crutches on. And wow, what a time, 3 years ago. Wow, just goes by fast.
Vince.
Clay, Vince Goodwill, Yahoo Sports. In the aftermath of Game 4 on social media, there was a lot of Steph praise from Dwayne Wade and LeBron James, and it seems like that's kind of, they've grown to respect him more or admire him more. Have you seen that as far as maybe from your peers over the past, 4 or 5 years, as opposed to when you guys first really got going, that there's a real admiration for what you guys do?
Yeah, I guess. That we're still here. I think that we're knocking on the door of another championship. I think that hopefully, hopefully that gains respect amongst the greats who played, so they know how hard it is to get here year after year. It takes a great toll on your body and even your mind. It takes a lot of mental fortitude to stay hungry and want more and more after so much success. And Steph is the embodiment of that. The man is never satisfied. He just continues to mesmerize the world with his talent.
Clay, along those lines, I was going to ask you, what did you learn watching Steph during your time rehabbing, and maybe other things you've learned from being back alongside him now that, after having that perspective and just how amazing he is year after year?
I learned that he's one of the greatest to ever play, and I learned that he can do anything with the basketball in his hands, especially when it pertains to shooting the ball.
Right here.
Clay, kind of a two-parter. First off, did you know or make the connection that tomorrow would be the 3-year anniversary before Ann asked that question?
No, I did not.
Do you anticipate you'll take maybe a special, you talked about really savoring this entire experience being present, but will you take a special moment just to appreciate how far you've come over these last 3 years and how hard it's been for you?
Maybe for a second, but then, when I step on that court, I want to win. Any means necessary. I don't care how ugly or pretty it is. Let's just win, protect our home court. I'm not going to sing Kumbaya or anything. I just want to friggin' win.
Thank you, Clay.
No problem.
First question right here, Ann.
Tomorrow is the 3-year anniversary of your elimination from the Toronto series in Game 6 and Clay getting injured. I'm wondering if you can just remember your emotions on that day. I just watched a video of you slamming that ball down when Clay went down and squatting and, looking very pensive. Your emotions, and then also some perspective of 3 years later, here you are back in a critical Game 5.
Yeah, it was mixed emotions all the way around. I had Katie's injury a couple days before, Clay going down, us trying to just find a way to stay alive. It was the end of an era at Oracle as well, so it was a lot going on. I don't really. It's hard to pick out exactly what you were feeling because it was all kind of mixed together. But we lost the game. Clay goes down. He's probably gonna be out for a while. You're getting ready for the summer, trying to regroup and figure out what's gonna happen next year and all that. And I think it's 3 years ago, and all that we've been through, all that Clay's been through, personally since that time, and to be back here, it adds to the sense of gratitude of being back on the stage. And that chapter will always be part of our journey for sure. Something we probably talk about for a very long time. And hopefully we can get this job done and pay homage to that 3-year journey, actually leading to something truly special.
Ron?
Ron Krajcik, San Francisco Chronicle. Rory's up too, in case you were wondering. I'm sure.
I was wondering. Thank you very much.
I know it's my job. As much defensive attention and physicality as you faced throughout the playoffs and in this series, how much more or what different do you expect tomorrow night, given the way you played Friday?
I don't know, because every team's built different. Every team has a certain way of doing things that perfected or tried to perfect over the course of a season. They have a certain defensive identity that has been successful for them. You obviously understand in a series, adjustments can happen on the fly in between games. You got to be ready to adapt. And I think I'll be ready for that. We will be ready for that, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, for us to be successful and win 2 more games, it comes down to the way that we defend, the way that we bring intensity, especially to start games, understanding how they respond after losses. That was one of the big points in the series. 2 great teams. They know how to respond. They know how to win in other people's buildings. We've shown that. They've shown that. And we have to be ready for that response and hopefully, throw the first punch tomorrow. Whatever adjustment that means is going to be a part of it, but it's secondary to just the effort and intensity and physicality that we need to have, knowing that's their calling card. That's how they, try to force success when they're coming off a loss.
Tim?
Steph, I think Clay's leading you guys in minutes played in the playoffs. He's way up there. You're second on the team. You're way up there on the list of most playoff minutes. You're the old guy.
He used to be a 6-man, though.
Yeah. Jeez. Wow. Wow. Now you've thrown me off. No, you're coming off. You had the foot thing. You guys are the old guys, yet you seem you might be getting stronger. Do you have a sense of pride in that? And what might it mean, like how long this window is going to be open?
We've talked about that. We feel like I've said it plenty of times. We have a lot left in the tank in terms of what we can do out there on the floor. And they bring up the age thing. It's something to talk about, but it doesn't really reflect how we approach this playoff journey and our confidence in what we can do going forward. But that doesn't happen by accident. It's just the work that you put into it. Clay, especially the fact that he was on a minutes restriction for like a month, and slowly got to ramp it up. Every couple weeks leading up to the playoffs, and I think he was so proud of himself that when he first, I think, eclipsed 40 minutes in a regular season game one time. Just the pride of, like, he's talked about it, like a year ago he wasn't even running. So it speaks to just how much this matters, how important we know the work that goes on behind the scenes is to being ready for whatever happens out there in the games that matter. So we're obviously only worried about right now, but we definitely feel like we have a lot left in the tank.
Anthony?
Yeah, 2 questions. One quick one. Just how does the foot feel?
Great.
Any treatment or anything you've needed? Or
always, but yeah.
And then on the Draymond, this is obviously a challenge for him offensively in the series with their length, the way they're playing. What is the key to, I guess, thriving better offensively when he's on the floor?
It comes down to understanding that we have our certain pep plays and actions that we have done for years and years and years. They've scouted it. They have a certain approach and personnel that's trying to take those away. And some of our bread and butter plays, but a lot of it is just being a lot more organized on our spacing and our force on pick and rolls, on cuts and stuff like that, so that we can just get everybody in the right spots, and whether they want to shade, off a certain guy or try to clog things up, we have a counter to all of that. And I think he is going to do an amazing job of adapting and figuring out where he can find his angles, his ways to impact on the offensive end, and that'll again feed off of the way he impacts the game on the defensive end every game. So usually the high IQ guys figure it out, and he's at the top of that list when it comes to understanding the game of basketball.
On your left, second row.
Hey, Steph, Alex Espinoza with 95.7 The Game. You're 3-0 with those purple shoes. Is there anything to that? Or are you going to bring them back out again at some point?
I did not even know that. Yeah. So I appreciate you. I don't know if that messes with the juju on there, if I'm aware of the record. So now I got a lot of different colors, so we'll see. See what happens. God, I got me thinking now, too.
Adam, next.
Steph, the U.S. Open's obviously in Boston this week. You have obviously much bigger priorities, but do you like try to squeeze in part of the practice round Wednesday? Do you have like golfers hitting you up for tickets? Do you just watch it on Thursday and chill? Or?
I got a couple friends on the tour that'll probably hit me up between now and next week if they get the early tee time, the early late on Thursday. We'll see. Or Thursday, Friday, we'll see. But I'm not going out there. It's obviously, all my attention's on rest and recovery and getting ready. I'll pop in front of the TV and make sure I watch as much of it as possible, though.
Joe?
Could you forward those tickets our way?
Say what?
Forward those tickets our
Oh,
way.
absolutely. I've never been to the Country Club Brookline, so you can send me some pictures if you get out there.
What's when you have a game like you had on Friday? What's that like to watch the film of it?
I mean, I don't know. It's kind of. I mean, it's cool because when you watch film, there's a lot of different emotions because you usually know the outcome of the game, and so whether you play well individually or not, you always know what happens at the end. It's like watching the end of a movie. It's always nice to know that the movie turns out great at the end. But I think it's more so just the balance of watching what worked and trying to understand those patterns so that you can repeat that for the next game, maybe anticipate some adjustments that might happen and try to slow it down and try to be one step ahead of that. In the meantime, I'm also watching a lot of different reactions in the crowd and on the bench and stuff like that, too. That's always some good entertainment.
Back right.
Steph, Steve was just comparing you to Roger Federer in terms of how the greats do things, and he was...
I got to get a list of all the people he's compared. Tim Duncan, Roger Federer, who added to the list. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Today it was Roger. And he was saying, especially in terms of, he said that you guys met him a few years ago in China, and how you find that joy in the daily routine, the work you put in, the discipline. So in your perspective, how is that to finding that joy and that passion and that work that you put in every day to sustain the highest level for a long period of time?
It goes back to just how I started in the game back when I was playing AAU back in the day. I love to work. You kind of get lost in the the sessions you have on the court and practice, in the weight room, wherever it is, because you know it's going to lead to you being as prepared as possible for those games. Try to have as much fun as possible. The days that you want to get up and do the work, the days that you don't, days you're tired, all that type of stuff. But it's all built on just my approach, I think, from the time I started, and just trying to carry that every year for as long as I can. And, win, lose, whatever it is, no matter how you play, you have to keep coming back to the well to keep sharpening the toolkit and finding ways to evolve your game. That is the hardest part of what we do. I mean, going out there on the floor, everything's more reactive, and you're kind of just living in the competition. But the hardest part of what we do is the grind of the year-long prep that it takes to be great at this level.
Davide and Vince, last two.
Hey, Steph, Davide Chinellato with Gazzetta in Italy. You're playing in your 6 finals in 8 years. How much has this become routine for you, and how much is, wow, I'm playing for a championship again?
You understand the routine of it and the ebbs and flows of game days, off days, media days, travel days, especially how to keep your body prepared on those long east to west coast flights and all that. So that helps with just the experience. Every task is different though when you get out there, because even when we played Cleveland 4 times, it's a different team every year that you had to kind of prepare against. And that's just part of it, and I love every experience at this stage, because there's so much attention on what we do. You understand the whole world's watching you when you're out there on the court, and you're obviously keeping in mind what you're playing for, and be the last team standing. So I love everything about it.
Vince?
Steph, during Game 4, you couldn't see it because you were playing, but Dwayne Wade and LeBron James had back and forth praising you throughout the course of the game, and I think Dwayne said something after it, saying that they got to make room for you on the Mount Rushmore. So when you see that, if you see that, are you amused? Are you surprised? Do you roll your eyes? Like, what is your reaction when you hear stuff like that or see it?
You know, any player would tell you when you get respect and praise from your colleagues and the guys that have been on the stage and know what this is about, know how hard it is to be at this level and do what we do. That means the world. You obviously want everybody to appreciate what you do and all that, but it hits different when it's people that you looked up to once upon a time, when they were, having their first and second experiences, and you're watching them like, I wonder what that's like, and then you have some battles, and for them to, go out of their way and speak about your impact on the game and all that type of stuff, it means the world for sure. Because it takes, great to recognize what it takes to do what we do, for sure.
Thank you, Steph.